morning, bonjour, ni hao, sin chao, what's up? It's me, Mr. Jordan. Welcome to another study guide for The Handmaid's Tale. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 17. First off, we'll do a brief reading and summary of the chapter. Then we'll get into a close line-by-line reading and analysis. And finally, we'll finish with vocabulary and the attendant context and definitions for some of the new words. Brief recap and literal summary of chapter 17. The chapter starts with Offred moisturizing using a pat of butter that she's stolen from her meal. She then slips out of her bedroom and downstairs where she wants to steal something because she's fascinated by this idea of her having a possession, that it will give her a bit of power. When she's in the sitting room, she's surprised by Nick in the dark. And they have this close moment of tension. And then he surprises her furthermore by telling her, "The commander wants to see you in his office." We're going to get into some of the deeper, close reading, line-by-line analysis now. In this chapter, there's a lot of symbolism to this idea that Offred is becoming like a piece of meat or a consumable product, an object created by the totalitarian state. So a lot of shades here of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, where people are sort of grown in test tubes or produced on a factory assembly line. She tells us, quote, "I'm buttered and battered. I lie on my single bed like a flat piece of toast." So this points to the consumable nature of her existence as a handmaid. And it references also the past chapter in the ceremony when she was literally inseminated by the commander, right? So this is this idea of her body being used as a vessel. She herself as a person, as an individual, is empty, is nothing, has no value or standing in society. She's only good, only becomes necessary once she's filled up by the commander. Again, the curtains are referenced as gauzy, so this word, this idea of being bangered, the word gauzy comes up again, so the curtains are described as gauzy. And I think there's this idea or illusion that she's damaged, right? She's been injured by the ceremony. And so she has to wrap herself or care for herself and start to attempt to heal the emotional and physical wounds or scars from that process. She also reflects about Luke, right? She's missing this idea of love or passion or care in her life, where now the physical contacts are controlled and regulated and modulated by the state. So she tells us, quote, "To remind myself of what I once could do, how others saw me." So she's recalling herself when she was more than just buttered toast, right? She was more than a sedentary piece of flesh. She had her own identity. And this process is grieving, right? She's being sad. She's mourning the loss of her former life. Immediately after this moment, she actually flips the script a bit. She decides she's going to sneak out and downstairs where she can steal something. And I think this is that moment of rebellion. Even though it's a small act, it's an act nonetheless that she's choosing. She's authoring this fate. So she slips down the stairs, and then she sees this mirror which comes up over and over again, this distorted, convex fisheye of a mirror. And it's in this mirror that she again sees herself as becoming more warped, right? Her image of herself is no longer the same. So, the endless literary allusions here, whether you want to reference the picture of Dorian Gray and backwards aging, or The Curious Life of Benjamin Button, she's seeing herself in a new light, as a new person, as transformed, right? She's come out of this chrysalis of her bedroom. There's these references too of snow and moonlight and white and twinkling. And I think here we're getting this idea of the sort of fairy tale, but the nightmare fairy tale, right? The Grimm brothers stories fairy tale of everything that's happening. This world of Gilead she's in is imagined like a snow globe that's being shook. She can't quite escape this new fractured reality she's a part of. It's also here a reference to Little Red Riding Hood, right? Of course, with the red gowns, the red capes. The reference is not only to the Scarlet Letter and Nathaniel Hawthorne, it's also farther back to Little Red Riding Hood and the big bad wolf of the state. When she runs into Nick, directly after thinking about Luke, it's almost as if she's made him manifest, right? She's conjured him out of her dreams. Here he is, this unknown man. She says explicitly, "Luke, you'd know, you'd understand. It's you here in another body. So again, it's this sort of fairy tale idea that this man has appeared at midnight. But it's a fairy tale gone wrong. They're illegal lovers, they're shaking. We get this quote about a magic flower in the wood. And then earlier we think of contamination, so this idea like it's a poisoned wood or the frightful wood. Very sort of overarching hero journey, mythical, meta-narrative type stuff. They're illicit, clenched. This idea of the woods at night, right? The woods coming alive, whether it's a reference to any kind of meta-narrative. From Lord of the Rings to Harry Potter to the Brothers Grimm. This idea that you go into the deep dark woods, Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf, of course, again, and the woods come alive and eat you. The night itself is something that primally, like in a Jungian sense, we are afraid of. There's also this binary of the force and the pull, the current, as she says, and her actual hormones, her body versus her mind, and that tug and tear and pull on her, right? Earlier, yes, this idea that she was distressed or she was coming apart. And now her hormones and her desire and the separation between the ethereal, sort of magical, gauzy snow globe world and the physical matter of being present in the household, and the physical matter of her body and flesh being present in the household, face to face with Nick, this is starting to come to a head. It's also an exciting time in the book because Atwood is starting to have more of an actual presence. We're starting to physically interact with Offred and Nick and the commander and the commander's wife and have less of a constant flashback, constant nostalgia. We're getting more actual plot action. Two really important meanings for the word vanity. One is this idea of pridefulness or being vain and narcissistic, right? This superficial obsession with the look of oneself. The other is the quality of being worthless, the uselessness, or the vanity of your dreams, or the vanity of your wishes, the fact that they're not tangible. It's from the Latin vanus for empty, right? So again, this reference to her as an empty vessel, as an empty body in Gilead. Rancid, so we have unpleasant, stinking, foul, something that is repugnant, that keeps you back. A fisheye lens or mirror is one that is 180 degrees, so it's one that warps the view or perspective, like when you see the edges of the horizon curl. It's also this idea of a suspicious or unfriendly look, like the stink eye. You give someone a fish eye. Dilate means to open up or become wider. A lens can dilate. Dilation can also be during birth, right? When a woman's giving birth, she can dilate. Another one is this idea to spread out, to literally become larger. And you can do that when you're writing or creating an idea. So I think that the text too, the actual novel here, is dilating, it's opening up. Dissolve. So there's actually quite a few meanings to dissolve. It means to literally dissolve, to end the solution. It can also mean to change states, right? So when a solid goes to a liquid form. And then furthermore, it can mean to dissolve in the sense to break apart or to finish a governing body or an idea, right? So you can dissolve parliament or dissolve the legislature. And it means it's finishing or it's losing its power and becoming unformed. Thanks so much for watching again. That was chapter 17 of The Handmaid's Tale. Hope you like it. Drop me a comment below if you have any questions about any of the vocabulary, the analysis, or the summary. And we'll see you again soon for chapter 18. Take care.